Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of DU Reviews, and we will be reviewing tonight Spider-Man No Way Home, super spoilery version. We did the quick instant version on Instagram, spoiler free. It's been out for just under a week now, but a lot of people have seen it. Some people multiple times, like my co-host here, Alex. We will not be joined by Ryan. He had a last minute issue come up. He might show up sometime during this stream, so it'll just be us holding it down. But I think we got it. So before we get, how you doing, man? How's it going?
I'm good. Coming back from my second dip into the multiverse with Peter and Peter and Peter, and it's been great. Yeah. Obviously, I was just telling you before. I recently dejected from my fantasy football playoffs, so that's not good. But it's the holidays. Got a holiday movie marathon we're catching up on. I'm pumped for the finale of Hawkeye tonight, and I'm still trying to game plan when I'm going to go see this movie for a third time.
Nice.
Because as I said from when we did our spoiler-free review, this does still look like an awesome movie to see in 3D, and I have yet to do that format, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think I want to go downtown and see it, hopefully in IMAX. I don't know if it's in 3D in IMAX, though, so I'm with you, though. I would love to see this in 3D.
Yeah, I was going to say like 3D D-Box, maybe.
Ooh, yeah.
3D box.
Not right now. Derek, one of my co-hosts from the Mando show, went and saw it last week, the other day at the new D box here in Roseville. And with that being attached to the mall, right at crunch time of Christmas shopping, it was not a fun time. So he said if he didn't have his kids with him, he would have just taken off. They didn't see it in the D box theater though, so he just saw it on one of the regular ones. But he said that new theater is pretty awesome, so we'll figure it out.
Yeah, well, I went there to see Ghostbusters, and it was really cool. We saw in the XD theater, did not have the D-Box seats, but I saw, how they're arranged in there.
Yeah, and they were next to it.
I'm assuming his problem was just with the crowds and the mall and parking and everything aside from the actual movie in the movie theater.
Yeah, it was more the mall crowd, but he said they were in the theater next to the D-Box. He was like, pretty much felt like they can hear it and feel it. So, but yeah, I'll definitely check it out there soon. Before we get to the review, one thing we wanted to bring up, you kind of just touched on it real quick, but tonight, tomorrow, however, whenever you're watching it, is the finale, quick finale. Can't believe it's already here of Hawkeye on Disney Plus. And, we got a little taste of something that tied in to the movie. We're not going to get to the spoilery parts yet. But in this film that will touch into what's probably going to happen in the finale. So, I don't know. You got any speculations? You had a theory you mentioned on the regular podcast. If you want to refresh, and if you think that's still in fruition, of happened.
It was kind of a blanket theory, but just that because of the way they timed the shows and how they gave us 2 episodes of Hawkeye the first week, I felt like it was intentionally timed that something would tie into Spider-Man No Way Home. And I believe, still non-spoiler, we can say that I think this was something that was added to trailers in the last couple of weeks, but you can see the Rogers the Musical billboards in New York. And I guess that's about it. I don't know if it's the other part kind of came through during the movie, but
and I think they've even slightly touched base. At least Elena did in the previous episode about
seeing
the Statue of Liberty,
the new Statue of Liberty. That
and she said new Statue of Liberty. So
yes,
and it's taking place during Christmas.
I think I don't know if it was one of you guys or one of the other pods I was listening to, but they were insinuating that meant it was like after No Way Home, thinking that from what we saw in the trailer, the destruction, big final scene had happened and that they had repaired and finished it afterwards. But the way I read it is that, she was talking about what was actually going on at the same time as Spider-Man No Way Home.
Very cool. So, yeah, I'm excited for the finale. I can't believe, seemed like even with Loki being a 6th episode, it just seemed like it's just blown away or blown right through. So I'm still holding out the fact, or holding out for. I mentioned to you, I think off recording, that it is a Christmas theme show. That's very heavy in the show, and I'm hoping, and I think it would be really cool if Marvel gave the fans a very cool Christmas gift. And there's actually a secret seventh episode that would come out Friday and Christmas Eve. I'm thinking that'd be cool. I don't think so, but I've heard this episode is actually timed at about 59 minutes, so like right at an hour.
59
So
minutes. Yeah, we're getting a full hour. I'm, as anyone who's a fan of the show, I'm sure would love to see that on Christmas Eve. And as we all know, there's a lot of, I wouldn't necessarily call it loose ends to tie up, but there's just a lot of plot. What up, Walt's apartment? Hey,
what up, guys?
A lot of plot that they've opened up that isn't necessarily tied up yet. So
Yeah.
uh,
Quick
a
little
lot of
shout out
ground
to
to
Walt.
cover. Let's say that.
Exactly, I agree. But a quick little shout out. I was recently on the episode of Walt's Apartment this past Wednesday. Love those guys. Always a blast to join them and check out all their shows: Marvel Tribe, Force Friday, Extra Magic Hours, all the stuff. So check it out. So got to have you guys back on the show too. So, but yeah, can't wait for the finale. I'm going to try to get to bed early because the last 3 episodes. This is how you know I'm serious about a show, and this was all of Mandalorian, and like broken up MCU shows. But I wake up, I either stay up to midnight, even though I got to wake up at 5:30 in the morning, or I'll just wake up a little bit earlier and watch an episode. But I'm usually tired, so. But I'm really looking forward to see where this goes. Like when we rated it on the podcast, it's a lot better than I was anticipating, and I really enjoy the hell out of the show. So sad to see it go, but glad to see what's happening next. So
yeah, it's tough ranking the Marvel television universe, I guess we should call it now. I mean, it is a part of the MCU, but it's the MTU. It's a new thing.
Here's how we'll do it. The MCU, anytime we post MCU movies, it'll be all caps. When we post MCU Disney Plus, it'll be lowercase.
It's not even really television. I mean, I guess it's television. It's just, not like cable television.
It's
I want to call
home
it
entertainment.
Marvel episodic universe.
Yeah.
Because it has episodes.
Exactly.
But I mean, I'm stoked on it. Like I said from the jump, I went in with low expectations, and I won't say blown away, but I'm stoked on it. I mean, from the music, I mean, it's probably the ultimate Christmas music playlist they're putting together. I've seen in a couple forums, people are clamoring for a mix or a playlist or a CD or something, to the callbacks to the original Matt Fraction run of the Hawkeye comic that it's kind of following, which I am not. I'm familiar that it exists and have listened to a bunch of podcasts talking about it, but from everyone who has read it says that it's doing a pretty good job of keeping up with it. Yeah. And for someone like me who doesn't or hasn't read all these comics, I guess I kind of worry for those people or in general, how they manage to still stick the landing and surprise people when these comics already have an ending,
Yeah. I know some things are slightly different, but yeah, I heard that's a really good one. And like I said, for a guy who does his own multiple music playlists on Spotify, I can really dig this Christmas one. So, yeah, looking forward to it. I'm sure we're going to review. We'll probably review the series in whole on the podcast. But one more thing before we get to our No Way Home review, I saw this article on Instagram from a comicbook.com, and they always put out some really good posts. And so this one really caught my eye. Let's see. So what's the I've heard rumors of Spider. You know what? I've heard that, and I've heard it might be one of the different Spider-Mans, possibly. So we'll find out because they're looking around how they got there. Yeah.
I mean, would that not right off the top be the biggest? I mean, I think Jonathan Majors, He Who Remains, Kang was probably the biggest reveal of any of the MCU, MEU, Disney Plus episodic shows so far.
Yeah.
That would totally be that. I mean, that would be bigger than any reveal. I don't want to get into the movie yet, but bigger than any reveal from the movie for the most part.
Exactly. And we know one of the, well, again, spoiler alert. One of the Spideys is, wandering around for a day trying to figure out where he's at. So that would be amazing.
That would be a good, just like side episode.
No, absolutely.
Well, and I back to the comic book and stuff, but I believe I had heard that they did a whole book from the perspective of Lucky the pizza dog.
Yeah, they have.
And so
it's like a one shot.
Speculated whether or not we'd get an episode like that. Could you imagine if that was the finale?
Oh, that'd be hilarious. I'd love that.
Or even just a portion of the finale,
Absolutely. What's up, Alfredo? How's it going,
Hey.
man? I know he's busy with Spider-Man at the theater. So I hope they're treating you guys good out there.
Yes, but I would also assume that he's seen it, hopefully.
He's probably seen it a couple times, I'm sure. But the article I was going to bring up, or did you still got anything on Hawkeye? Or
no, go back.
Oh, okay. I'm sure we'll talk about it as we close here. But so Chadwick Boseman's brother, I don't know if he was doing an interview or something, but he mentions that the star Chadwick would he feels that Chadwick would have wanted T'Challa recast in Black Panther. We know Marvel's mentioned that they're not going to recast him at all, and they're going to kind of go with different characters. And so, being that the fact that and his brother, I'm sorry, actually, I'm going to read the post here real quick. So it says Derek Boseman says his late brother would have wanted the character to be recast just because he knew T'Challa was bigger than just one man. He also supports the change.org petition of the role to continue on and not be retired. And it's attracted more than 43,000 people and counting. And this was as of December 13th or 17th. So I know we're all fans of Black Panther. I'm a huge fan of Chadwick Boseman, as you are. And I forget where Ryan was with Black Panther, but I'm going to go off the boat. I kind of agree. I love Chadwick. He is T'Challa, but what he brought to that character, I feel as sad as what happened. I feel, that I still think that the character has room in the MCU.
Totally.
Yeah, and Marvel has recast, other characters, smaller, obviously, not as big, but I mean, what are your thoughts?
Another podcast, Ringerverse, Midnight Boys, you'll hear me mention. I love listening to those guys, and they have not only talked about it, but they actually, I'm sorry, I won't remember the name of the person from Marvel that they interviewed, but they actually interviewed someone from Marvel who has said that, it is decided this will not happen.
Yeah.
And it was a short conversation with Ryan Coogler and everyone just after Chadwick passed, which, to some degree, obviously maybe a little too soon to have that conversation.
Yeah.
I agree with everything you said. I do love Chadwick. I think he was, I don't know him, but I'm sure he was a great human being. He was an amazing actor, spanning roles outside of the Disney universe and in. And I think at this point, with news about what's going on with Letitia Wright and Shuri, it kind of throws another little thing into the equation. For those who don't know, look it up because I don't want to get too deep into it. But there's been, a lot of, I guess, conflict with Letitia Wright over vaccination and her views on it and what goes on with her and her castmates and stuff. And I believe at last I read, she was not planning to play Shuri or be in the MCU anymore after this movie.
And that's after the injury delay too.
That people thought she would take the Black Panther mantle from here. So, having all that had happened, you go back to, you don't know what they did with the Black Panther 2 movie and script. Maybe they went all in on it and now they're thinking about going back. I guess the one thing we do know is that with Marvel, no one ever really dies, so even, obviously with the real world, people do really die. And
yeah,
it's a sad, tragic thing, but I agree. I think Chadwick probably would have wanted it to go on. I think the character itself is too big and it was such a big monumental deal for Marvel, for movies, for superhero movies, everything. So continuing the story of T'Challa would be great. I support them whatever they decide. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like who directed this Star Wars movie. I mean, if you decide not to do it, cool. I'm going to support you, and I hope that y'all still come up with awesome, amazing stories. That are obviously gonna put black characters at the forefront and take us through this world of Wakanda that is only in our imagination. Because
Yeah.
I know we do still have Wakanda the series coming to Disney Plus as well. So I mean, there's a lot of possibilities and things. I think a recast wouldn't be a bad idea. Who is the big question?
Yeah. And
I couldn't think of anyone off the top of my head.
yeah. Got a comment from Walt's apartment, and we actually had this discussion on the episode I was on that we're talking about Killmonger or M'Baku taking over the Black Panther mantle. And I'm good with M'Baku. He's one of my favorite characters from the first movie, along with I think I threw out even Okoye. I mean, if they went, if Shuri's not the future Black Panther from the
All of
characters
them.
we know, but
I mean, all of them are great. I think we want to see them all come back. I don't know how I feel specifically about Killmonger, especially after what we've seen him do in What If.
yeah,
I know it's different Killmonger, different universe, but same kind of feelings and results to an
yeah,
extent.
exactly. Well,
But
this will be something we definitely pay attention to as it goes because comicbook.com always puts out some good questions. They have the good articles, but this one really stuck out because Black Panther is my favorite character in Civil War, and that was saying a lot because I mean that's where we got Spidey for the first time, and I felt like we got one of the best versions. I don't say one of the best versions of uh Black Panther, but in the movie, there's such a good cast that everybody just stood out. But I thought he really stood out in Civil War. So, but yeah, I mean, I love the
and then we got
character.
nothing in Infinity War or Endgame. I think
Yeah,
that was the biggest disappointment.
yeah. So yeah, I was just wondering. I mean, like I said, that article kind of stood out for me. So I really want to check that. But let's talk Spider-Man once again. This is our spoiler-filled review. As shout out to the Ringiverse who did a great, super long episode. I don't think we're not going to go that long, but
I didn't listen to their
yeah,
deep dive, but I listened to their 2 hour long instant reactions.
yeah. So I crack up that I was introduced to them through you, and I just crack up that they got to say that this is a spoiler alert for a reaction show.
Yeah.
like so. So
Because
once
I'm going to do a
again,
Wayne's World style. Spoiler
exactly.
alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert.
So if you haven't seen it yet and you haven't read the titles, we will be spoiler. See, I can't even talk. Spoiling the living heck out of Spider-Man. So here is the spoiler alert. All right. Before we go, we had some regular just information that this was actually I forgot to bring it up, so I'm not. This is what happens when we go live. But this is the third movie in this. No, we'll call it the Home trilogy, the Spider Home trilogy, since every movie has home somewhere in the title. Directed by John Watts, starring Toby. Spoiler alert! Tom Holland, Zendaya, Benedict Cumberbatch, Jacob Bolton as Ned, John Favreau, and I won't list everybody, but
All the people you read were in it. Were in it. Let's put it that
exactly.
way.
And would you want to give a quick little synopsis? You've seen it twice. I've only seen it once. What's
All
up,
right.
Tyler?
I will attempt here. Spider-Man No Way Home finds us about 20 seconds, not even. It almost overlaps with Spider-Man Far From Home. At the very end, we have Mysterio's video as leaked by the Daily Bugle, telling us that Peter Parker is Spider-Man and that he killed Mysterio and executed this whole big thing, which we all know from the movie was chopped up and played out of context. So Peter is being recognized. MJ's being recognized as Spider-Man's girlfriend. They're swinging up out of there. So it really hits the ground running. Basically, they have to get out of the public eye. They get up to Peter and Aunt May's apartment, where Happy is sadly being broken up with by Aunt May. At the same time, Peter and MJ get in. They go in the door, and hijinks ensue as Peter is trying to sit them down to talk about their relationship. Helicopters on the TV are showing them in the house. So basically, his cover's blown. Everybody knows Peter Parker's Spider-Man. They find a new place to hide out at Happy's New York Hideaway, a nice little New Yorker bachelor pad. And from there, you basically get Peter starting school. Everyone knows he's Spider-Man. His life's all weird. He's got cameras on him. His old teachers and principal are all acting weird and starstruck to Spider-Man. Some, obviously, as with the world, are a bit divided, believing the story of Mysterio and what the Daily Bugle's putting out. So you get Peter with MJ and Ned, and they're all trying to get into MIT. They're opening their letters, and before that, there's a point where the FBI basically comes in and arrests them not FBI, some Marvel Cinematic Universe made up
it's
government agency.
It's the agency that was at the beginning of Homecoming that is collecting all the Shatari weapons and fallout from New York. Okay. And they're the ones that put the Vulture, Michael Keaton's character, like out of business, basically.
Right.
So they're a contracted team, and I forgot what they're called. I'll look them up as you continue.
I forget what they're called too, but I did make note that it's kind of interesting that they come up with these fictional government agencies. Like, how many government agencies can there be? A ton, apparently. So the government agencies are interrogating Peter, Aunt May, Ned, and MJ. And basically, it's a fun little act seeing them being interrogated. You find out they get a lawyer, and the lawyer is none other than Matt Murdock, the Daredevil. That is probably the biggest reveal of the movie, to be honest.
Yeah.
I will get on my tangent later about the internet basically thirsting for too much knowledge and knowing too much about these movies than we did in years past.
And real
Matt
quick,
Murdock explains to Peter and co that they really don't have anything on him and he should be fine. But however, that Happy Hogan, as someone with Stark Tech, does have something to worry about, and he needs to lawyer up. We get a cool moment where a brick comes through the window at Peter and co, and Matt Murdock snatches it. They ask him how he did that, and of course he did that because he's a really good lawyer.
Yeah. Real quick, the agency is the United States Department of Damage Control.
DDC.
So, yeah.
So we get out of that scene. Everything's kind of mellowed out. Peter's in his safe house in Happy's place. They're getting ready to start school. They start school. He's talking to his friends about, they're excited for college applications because it's senior year. They all apply to MIT, and sadly, none of them get in. And is specifically stated on MJ and Ned's letter because of their association with Spider-Man that they don't get in. So they're all kind of dejected and sad. MJ only halfway because she starts out feeling disappointed. That way she can't become disappointed. That's her whole little motto. Peter sees a strand of lights of the Halloween decorations in MJ's coffee shop with Stephen Strange on it, and that reminds him about his good friend, the Wizard. So he goes to pay him a visit and basically asks him if he can change, mess with time and reality and make it so no one knows that he's Spider-Man because his life has gotten messed up. Now that everyone knows that he's Spider-Man, he initially says, come on, kid, I can't just, change this stuff because your life is messed up. Suddenly has a change of heart when he realizes a certain spell to make people forget things that was at least at one point used at Comertage to make Wong and maybe more people forget about a party. So he decides to do it for him. Unfortunately, Peter did not realize that this would lead everyone, including his closest loved ones and people who knew he was Spider-Man before, to forget. And so while Doctor Strange is performing the spell, Peter continues to interject, I believe, five or six times. It felt like four. Happy was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
But basically, by continuously intervening in the spell, he threw the spell off. It goes crazy. To what effect, they do not yet know. Doctor Strange has it captured and kicks Peter out when he realizes that he did not just initially call the school and plead his case with them. So as Peter's leaving, he gets
I could have done that
to hit up Flash, who did get into MIT, find out where this admissions person may be to plead a case for Ned and MJ, not himself, because really he just cares about his friends and their lives being messed up by his actions. As he Spider-Man's his way up to the traffic where she is stuck in, heading to the airport. His spidey senses tingle, and we get Doc Ock. Otto Octavius has come through the multiverse, and he is looking for Peter. And an awesome fight ensues between Doc Ock and Peter. We get, I believe it's called instant kill or whatever, when he gets the spider legs come out of his back, to the point where he realizes that he is not the Peter he's looking for. And so the nanotech of Peter's spider suit saves him and subdues Doc Ock until you hear a familiar cackle or laugh of the Green Goblin. Just as that's happening, Doctor Strange zaps through, takes them back to the basement of the sanctum, the sub-sanctum, or whatever it was called that Ned was so excited about. And he explains to him that when the spell was messed up, it, instead of making everyone forget he was Spider-Man, it made everyone who knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man come to him. So it opened up from other universes, multiverses, universes, that you got all these bad guys who knew about Peter Parker, and they were coming for him. And so he was doing what he could to contain these people and trap them, not even talk to them, and try and get them so that he can just send them back to where they came from. So he enlists Peter to Scooby-Doo this shit with the help of his two trusted friends, MJ and Ned. Go out and find these other people who had come through the multiverse, and capture them so that they can send them back. The first one they go and get is Electro. And they managed to find Electro and the Sandman at the same place. Sandman seems to be playing nice with them, kind of helping him out. Everyone's really kind of confused at this point of what's going on.
Yeah, because last time we saw Sandman, he was actually not killed by Spider-Man. He was let go from Spider-Man 3. They kind of burnt their bridges. Spider-Man reconciled,
yeah.
and Toby Spidey realized, forgave him basically for his actions, and
that the real killer was someone else.
Exactly.
So basically, the all the villains are in the Spider, or in 616 universe, I believe we call it, and they're coming after this Peter Parker, who is not the guy they know. This part of the movie, they're starting to get captured. Basically, at this point, we've got everyone. Reptile or Lizard was already captured by Doctor Strange. We've got Doc Ock and Sandman and Electro. Green Goblin's still out there, and they're all kind of starting to put two and two together about like who they are, where they came from, who was dead, who wasn't dead, what had happened. Green Goblin somehow comes down from his dark half of his mind, throws off the Green Goblin mantle, and he finds Aunt May and her feast, I believe it's called, her what kind of looks like a homeless shelter or someone to
Yeah.
help the less fortunate. Comes in. Aunt May tells Peter, so he comes in and finds him, thinking that it's going to be, a fight, but it was really him just, saying, I'm lost and I need help. So Peter, kind of takes that, and he, with the help of Aunt May, realizes that all these people are need help. They're in a different mindset than was theirs previously before whatever had happened in the events of their particular Spider-Man movies. So you get a moment where they go back to the Sanctum with Osborn, not Harry. What was his name?
Oh my gosh, I just brain farted. We'll get there.
The older Osborn, the Green Goblin guy. So they all go back. Doctor Strange throws him in a little lockup immediately, and he's saying, we're going to send all these guys back.
Norman
Osborn, thank you. We're sending all these people where they came, because we just got to worry about not screwing up our universe. They have all kind of come to the realizations that they die, and the moment they left from was the moment that they're about to die, and so you're basically sending them back to their deaths. Peter, with Aunt May still ringing in his head, says, we've got to try and help these guys first. In comes a kind of scuffle between Peter and Doctor Strange that we saw some of in the trailer, with the crazy astral projections that Doctor Strange does, making buildings move in crazy ways, and trains go all kaleidoscope and stuff.
Took them into the mirror dimension.
The mirror dimension.
But before that, when they're all kind of figuring, and Peter's like pleading to the villains, like, oh, I want to help you, and whatever, and talking about science, and we get that famous one of the Easter egg lines from Norman was like what he tells Toby Peter in the first Spider-Man. I'm some of a scientist myself.
So many Easter eggs. I won't get to all of those for sure.
Yeah.
Trying to run through this so we can talk about our feelings on it. Basically, he being the smart kid he is, does a little commercial for mathematics and saying how it's all just like geometry, and he ends up getting Doctor Strange stuck in the mirror dimension. He comes back out and basically tells all these villains, like, hey, basically your choice is this guy was going to send you back to your death, or you can come with me and I'm going to try and help you. And so some a little weary, some are like, okay, anything is better than death. They go with Peter, on different scales of reluctancy, back to Happy's bachelor pad, where what not mentioned earlier, he had previously seen some hidden Stark tech. I think they said it was like a replicator machine or something.
Yeah, it was the same machine that was in the jet from No Way Home, where he created his suit after his loss to his first loss to Mysterio.
And so this machine is going to help him, replicate things that he might need in each individual situation to help each one of these guys. You get some fun banter and stuff between the different characters. And then, they do manage to save and heal Dr. Otto Octavius, Doc Ock, from the legs or tentacles, basically poisoning his mind and controlling his mind. So he's back to normal, save for the 4 extra metal arms coming out of his back. And as they start to continue, they're in the middle of trying to save Electro. And I believe it was it Sandman or Goblin who was kind of poisoning it, like mentally?
It was Goblin in a way, yeah. And that came later, because first he didn't like the fact that he didn't think he needed to be healed, and he liked the new energy. So the fact that he was going to be powered down, so to say, but he was feeling the energy from the arc reactor, and he liked that.
So basically, we get Spidey sense again. He can sense that something's about to go wrong, and sure enough, Norman Osborn is taken over by the Green Goblin. He blasts a pumpkin bomb, and stuff goes crazy. Another great fight scene between Green Goblin as Norman Osborn and Spidey through this apartment building. all the other villains are kind of dispersed. This
because Lizard was in the
ends.
truck. He stayed in the
Sorry?
truck.
Oh, that's
Lizard,
right.
yeah.
Lizard was in the truck the whole time, but he gets out through this whole melee and everything. He also was not really on the trusting Peter Parker tip from the beginning, nor did he. I don't think he really felt that he needed to be helped.
Yeah.
So this whole fight ends sadly with Aunt May sustaining a hit that was a fatal blow, which initially we don't know that it is, and then you kind of see her go down. It's a real gut-wrenching scene, because this is really the first time our Peter experiences something like this. We get the amazing line that we get in all of our Spider-Mans, that with great power comes great responsibility.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. She says it kind of differently than they had said in past ones. With great power, there comes great responsibility, I believe she says. And Happy pulls up along with the FBI or a bunch of armed force people with guns. They're still kind of, jury's out on whether or not Spider-Man's a good guy or a bad guy. They start firing shots. He leaves. In the meantime, we've got MJ and Ned.
Well, I was gonna say, right, they're kind of leaning more on as the bad guy because of James. No,
that's right.
James, and he's the one really plugging that how he's the criminal, and that he's been wanting to get him caught red-handed. Yes. So
very, very Alex Jones vibes they have for him.
Yeah,
that's at least what I thought they had doing. So anyway, in the meantime, MJ and Ned were keeping this kind of box which had the messed up spell in it. It kind of, best I could say is it seemed like when you used to save a game on a cartridge system, he was holding his saved game in there to come back to it to send all those guys back to their worlds. So he had MJ and Ned hold on to that away from where he was with the villains, just in case anything went haywire, as it did. While they are at Ned's house, Ned, who is wearing the sling ring of Doctor Strange,
which Peter swiped
Peter
during their little battle
when he locked him in the mirror dimension. Ned makes a movement with his hand and starts to open a sling ring window or whatever we call that. I'm not sure, but a Doctor Strange circle portal type thingy. We get that going, and I think it's as he starts saying, "I wish Peter was here," and it opens. And so as they start doing it, they see Spider-Man, and they're like, "There he is, Peter, come here." He comes through, and I think everybody all kind of realized at once that this is not Peter Parker, who we know, Tom Holland. This is another Peter Parker, Andrew Garfield, the Amazing Spider-Man jumps through. Yes, that's what happened in the theater. Unfortunately, it didn't happen in Ryan's theater. He said he had a bad theater. But if you were at a great theater, that is what happened when you saw it.
I think when we saw it, I might have gave out the first woohoo.
Yes.
People were chiming. I knew it was Andrew Garfield right away. I was like, yes!
Sadly, the person next to me, my beautiful fiance, told me what was happening about 5 seconds before I realized it. So those are always great. I love you, baby. It's all good. I'll still marry you. So we get a fun scene there where they're basically quizzing him and about who he is, because they know Peter Parker, and this is all still kind of weird to everybody, having people from different multiverses come in. And so they're like, okay, go try it again. And as he tries it again, we get another Peter there's a sorry with lots of Y's. Thank you. We get another Peter Parker coming in. And this is not, again, the Peter we were looking for, but it is Tobey Maguire, the first Spider-Man from Spider-Man 1 through 3, the Sam Raimi verse. He shows up in street clothes, basically saying he's kind of been wandering around. He was unsure of why he showed up, but that he could sense that Peter needed his help, or that someone needed his help. I can't quite remember. So they all come to terms and get together and ask if they know where Peter might be. His little place where he likes to hide out is on the top of the high school, where we saw them have a fun little scene earlier in the movie. They go there, where obviously he is mourning the loss of his Aunt May. He gets a big hug from MJ and Ned.
This
And
was such
then
a
we see,
heartbreaking scene.
sorry?
Oh, it was such a heartbreaking scene. I mean, after coming off the actual death of May, that whole scene, then going, to the awesome scene with the Spideys, then back to tears,
Yeah, it was a rough one. I'll go into it later, but I feel that because he looks so kid-like, you feel worse for him.
Yeah. Well, I'll say something about, Tom Holland is a hell of a crier. And I mean, he makes you feel it. I don't know, like you said, if it's just how young he looks, but he sells it. Like even in Endgame, when Tony died and when he was being dusted, like he didn't feel so good. And oh my, yeah, he's just, you feel for him.
I was gonna
I mean,
say,
it's really
actor
gut
is the only
wrenching.
profession where
Yeah,
being one hell of a crier is a great thing.
yeah. Well, there's some good, not good criers, so I got to give
Yeah.
credit where credit's due.
So they, he meets the other two Peter Parkers for the first time. They basically talk and exchange, who they are and how they've kind of been there before, and try and comfort and help Peter, and that this is part of his journey. And while it is horribly tragic and sad, he is meant for more and greater things, and that he will
Yeah,
be he will help people, and that's what Aunt May always wanted, was to help people. So they get to terms on that, and Peter explains his plan as far as how to help each of these villains and save them from what was controlling their minds. They have a fun scene inside the high school where we do finally get the meme,
the point.
the Spider-Man's pointing at each other. And they come up with all their different cures for these guys. Peter then runs a video straight to J. Jonah Jameson, basically, telling everybody, I'm not a bad guy. I was just trying to help people. I'm
Yeah,
still just trying to help people. And he calls out all the villains to come see him out at the Statue of Liberty. And so, as from the trailer, we get to our big end fight scene at the Statue of Liberty. We get some more cool banter between the Peters,
yeah,
as they basically learn to gel and work as a group. You've got the three Peters going against Sandman, Electro, and Lizard. And as they basically turn the tides, gain their traction, and start curing these guys. At the back end, as basically things are starting to come to resolve, you've got Doctor Strange comes back from the mirror dimension. They showed him that Peter figured it out on how to cure these guys without just sending them back. And then of course you get the Green Goblin comes through in all his Green Goblin glory. More goblin-y than ever, basically.
yeah.
And he comes in and he goes at Peter, and you get the scene that was teased in the trailer with MJ falling, and
Which
Peter
was a
number
direct shot
3.
from, well, that was a direct shot from when Gwen was falling, the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Same
And also
framing, same
MJ
slow
falling
motion.
before, but
Yeah.
obviously we know Gwen's fall didn't end so well, which Peter number 3, as he is known, Andrew Garfield addresses during the movie, and he does come to save the day after Peter is taken out by Goblin trying to save her. And that, I believe, was probably the most touching, and I have now seen the movie twice and cried both times when I saw that.
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield just hits it with the emotion in that moment. And you've got Peter and Goblin. Peter's got all his built-up rage from him killing Aunt May. You've got Peter number 2, aka Tobey Maguire, basically telling him, he needs to learn to hold his rage back and just be the Spider-Man to get the bad guy, not necessarily kill the bad guy. And so Peter fights with him, and he gets to a point where he's about to kill him with the back of his glider, Green Goblin's glider. And Tobey, Spider-Man number 2, comes in and stops him, and he's holding him. And then the Goblin stabs him in the back, and Peter shoot. And I think they fight a little bit more.
Yeah, and then Spidey 3 throws the cure to Spidey 1.
That's right.
And it gets him.
And he cures him.
So
all our bad guys are cured. At this point, the multiverse is kind of breaking around the Statue of Liberty in New York again. Doctor Strange says, they're starting to come through. I can't hold them, as we saw in the trailer. And you do get a cool bit if you're quick and looking. You start to see the outlines of other Spider-Man villains from the comic books. I was able to make out Kraven the Hunter and Rhino. One of the podcasts I listened to previously also brought up Scorpion, which I was able to see on my last viewing.
Which we were teased with him at the end of Homecoming when he runs into the Vulture in prison.
Oh, Scorpion is?
Yeah, so remember when he bumps into like a bald guy and he's like, hey, we need to talk or something. He has a scorpion tattooed on his neck. So
okay, nice.
And Alfredo real quick says, if you haven't seen it in Dolby yet, I highly recommend it. So hopefully
I missed the Dolby screen in San Francisco. I did see it in XD, which I think is the closest thing we have to Dolby at most of our theaters out here.
Yes, sadly we don't have any AMC theaters around Sacramento, so
yeah,
which sucks because.
But yeah, Dolby, IMAX, all the premium formats are legit.
Yeah, and shout out to Alfredo. He works at AMC out in San Jose, I believe. So
okay, so Strange is trying to hold the multiverse together or keep all these people from coming through. Peter realizes what he has to do, and he tells him to cast the same original spell without any caveat of anyone knowing who he is. Strange says, he's after everything he's done, he's like, it's okay, we can figure it out. And he's like, no, we need to do this now. And so he gives him a minute to go say goodbye to his friends. He explains to his friends what's happening and tells him that he's going to go explain everything to them. He's going to come find them. And we get a real heartfelt goodbye with him and MJ with that superhero kiss, like the shot and everything at the end.
And real quick, we actually get a very touching half a moment from Doctor Strange where he's like, I'll forget. Then he kind of stops himself, but he's like, we'll forget, like, the Avengers. But the fact that he actually does have a little bit of feeling for Peter, and
when this whole going back and forth between don't call me sir, call me Steven, or whatever.
Especially since their first encounter.
There's a lot of good exchanges in callbacks to not only jokes from previous movies, but in this movie. So he casts a spell. Peter Parker is now known by no one. And we see him going. We kind of quickly see him going through his new life. Well, I think he goes to the coffee shop first. He goes to the coffee shop. He's got a paper in his hand, kind of rehearsed what he's going to say to MJ to explain to her what it is. And when he sees her and he sees Ned and that they're getting ready to go to MIT and that everything's good with them, he has a change of heart and he decides not to tell him. I think after everything that had happened, he doesn't want to burden their life with knowing Spider-Man. So, you have this real kind of gut-wrenching scene where you see him with MJ and talking to her, but he decides not to tell her as much as he wants to because he misses her and he loves her. And so he just walks away. And then we see him gets his GED guide. So he left high school, gets his GED diploma. He moves into a new apartment.
Rent's due on the 1st.
Rent's due on the 1st. That's a whole nother thing. They were talking about on the Midnight Boys. He's 2 swings away from Times Square. He can't afford that rent. Or what? Two swings away from 30 Rock. That's where we see him. And at this point, it is Christmas time.
So real quick, I noticed that too. Thanks, Walt's apartment. She is still wearing the necklace that he gave her, the broken black medallion from No Way Home. So Far From Home. Sorry, all these home titles are throwing me off.
I think that's one of the bigger things as we are pretty much done with the recap now. That was the movie. Spider-Man, is not known by
scanner. He's got his police scanner on his phone. He's wearing his original comic book costume that he made now again.
He had a sewing machine. He made it. From what I had heard, the apartment is very like straight out of the comics as well. So yeah, he's just the neighborhood Spider-Man, and that's all anybody knows.
Well,
There is a moment with him and Happy as well at May's grave,
ah,
where
well,
they're both mourning, and
yeah,
Happy says, "How did you know her?" And he says, "Through Spider-Man." And
yeah.
he says, "Me too." So Happy doesn't remember him either.
So we'll get to some of these like scenes. I got them broken up in action emotions, dude. That was a hell of a breakdown. So
Thank you. I'm off the top. I will try and take notes in the future. And be more concise.
and we'll get to the stingers later. But I wrote down a couple notes, like I told you, 6 points. One of them, number one, they did it. They got the
They
three
did it.
Spider-Mans, the worst kept secret in Hollywood, but the execution was what? I mean, the way they did everything, like I said, like when oh yeah, you're getting props here, so
Yes, I was. Cheers, Tyler. Thank you. Cheers.
and
Thanks, Walt's apartment.
but I mean the second we saw, well, first of all, the first big cameo we got was Matt Murdock,
Matt
Daredevil
Murdock.
from Netflix, the Netflix Daredevil. So we are
I'm
getting,
excited to start watching.
especially with Kingpin, showing up, and might show up later on tonight at the obviously, well, he's going to show up. He was in the picture on the
Yeah.
Hawkeye.
Also, sidebar: Daredevil is spiked in viewership on Netflix. I'm waiting to see if by the end of this week it actually cracks the top 10 in TV shows.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I'll start with the first reveal. Andrew Garfield, Spidey. I've said this plenty of times before, even before we've recorded, but I love him as Spider-Man. He was an okay Peter Parker, but he was a great Spider-Man. And every scene he was in, he nails in the first two movies. Just the going back to execution, those movies weren't they weren't done great. It was a rush reboot, in my opinion, but the casting I thought was great. So, and he got a lot of flack just for not being in great movies, even though he did really good. I thought his Peter Parker was too cool of a Peter Parker, coming right after Toby, who was a great Peter and a great Spider-Man. But to me, in this film, Andrew Garfield, out of all the three Spideys, was the highlight for me.
Oh, he killed it. He killed it.
He had the comic relief where she's throwing bread at him and he's like, "What? Don't you couldn't sense that?" He's like, "Well, not with bread." Just his little, everything he did just nailed it.
I feel like part of that is the perception that his Spider-Man movies might have been the lesser than, even though obviously Toby has the high of Spider-Man 2 and the low of Spider-Man 3.
Exactly.
He was the first. Tom Holland is the current and most recent. So Andrew Garfield was kind of just the guy in between. And it's almost that, he only got the 1 and 2. I'm not sure as to why they didn't pursue another one. But he kind of got the short end of the straw, and he showed us all in this movie that that shouldn't have been the case. And
agreed. Totally agreed.
I will full well co-sign if whatever were to happen, they wanted to bring him back as Spider-Man. I'm cool with it.
Yeah. Little comment from Addie here. Daredevil looks so good. It was top review. Just what you said. Also, yeah, I gotta re-binge Daredevil and Defenders. And I got a Daredevil question, or I'll bring up later on. But no, just the emotions, like when he's telling the story of like when they're talking about their, Toby lost his Uncle Ben, he lost Gwen, to all these scenes. Then even the fact when they're kind of talking about their when he's popping Toby's back, cracking his back, then they're just comparing and does a web come out of you? How is that possible? I gotta come up with new webs. And then just a part that's like, Toby's like, oh, I fought an alien made out of black goo, and then Tom's, oh well, I fought an alien in space and he was purple. Then Garfield's like, well, I didn't fight an alien, I just fought a Russian guy in a rhino suit. So, yeah. I mean, but then the emotion when he rescued MJ and you see him like break down a little bit, it's like, he nailed it.
He had it all. The comedy, the heart. My favorite, as you mentioned, he was Spider-Man number 3, is at that point where they're confused over who's who and they come back and have a huddle. he's all like, "I'm Spider-Man 3. That's me." You know, he's just kind of wacky. It kind of reminds you of I don't know. In
Yeah.
that moment, it reminded me of Ross from Friends. You know,
And he's even like, "I'm so lame," and Toby's like, "No, you are amazing." Kind of like,
yes,
"No, you are
yeah.
amazing." And I don't know, I just loved it. Then Toby's reveal I thought was awesome because I mean,
Old
it
man Spider, as I like to
oh,
call him.
yeah, the cool youth pastor, coming out in street clothes.
Exactly.
He was like the Obi-Wan Spidey of this crew, in that how I feel. But and I love that they brought back the music tracks, the musical themes to them, and even Electro and Doc Ock and stuff. So,
Well, and I
um,
doubt we get it, but Toby, Spidey 2, he with him telling about where he's been and obviously having so much time passed since he's been where we've seen him, it was enough to make me want to see where he's been, what's going on. It was kind
yeah,
of, he made it seem like it was touch and go with him and MJ and whether or not he's still being Spider-Man, doing Spider-Man things and stuff like that. I'm not saying I need like a full-on movie of him or whatever, but
a
I
nice
would
little
at least,
Disney Plus series.
mainly because that he showed up in the street clothes and stuff. I feel there was a little more intrigue as to what he's been up to, you know.
Yeah, but
And same
just
for Garfield too. I mean,
yeah,
when he talked about how he stopped pulling his punches, I'm imagining like the Punisher Spider-Man in his universe or something.
exactly. And we got a slight view of what that might have been, the way Tom Holland, Spidey 1, reacted to Goblin when he beat the holy hell out of him
It was
and
good
was
seeing him kick some butt. I'm
yeah,
gonna say that for sure.
yeah, and of course the hero shot with them finally for the first time swinging around, then doing the hero pose.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I
Absolutely.
think I threw out another fuck. Yeah. Sorry for those watching the Disney, but I was excited. We're a little bit loser here on YouTube, but no, that
Yes.
was like that was amazing.
That was great.
Uh,
I mean, I think the biggest surprise for me of the whole movie was how much of the three Spideys we got.
yeah,
And this is I kind of talked about while I was doing the recap, but I'm kind of fed up with where we are as a movie loving society, and specifically these I don't know what we call them, like nerd universe or MCU or anything, at how much we pay attention to the casting and production and
hmm
this and that. It's like, let them make the movie. I want some surprises, you know?
yeah,
I mean, from the screens of Matt Murdock, I mean, you could place that shot that I saw in articles to him in the movie, to them, talking about the different and obviously they ended up giving us the villains in the trailer. I almost question whether they would have revealed that in the trailer if there had not been so much talk on the internet about the multiverse and everything,
yeah. No,
And I
totally agree.
and I'm just to the point where I've said many times, in Disney, I trust in Imagineering. With Marvel, I trust in Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios. They have done enough to this point where I believe, at least for me, I will go see a movie. I don't want to see the trailer. I have friends who don't watch trailers. I
Yeah,
love trailers, but at the same, like, and by I say I love trailers, I love getting to the movie early to see the trailers to see what movies are coming up.
yeah.
But at the same time, I don't want to see the whole movie,
So
and I feel like example, the first trailer for Infinity War, they only took clips from the first 15 minutes of the movie, you know?
mhm,
Like that's kind of something that they should do. I think like
yeah.
I just I want those big cheering moments.
Well, even the Book of Boba Fett, from all the trailers and TV spots that we've gotten, just found out a few days ago that Robert Rodriguez said most of those clips are from the first like few minutes of the first episode only. So
Well, and they did that with Mandalorian as well. If
yeah,
not season 1, definitely season 2, because they released different trailers as the season went on.
yeah, and I love trailers. Like I remember, if you remember, I don't know if it was VH1 or something, but back in the day they had the coming attractions. It was just a 30 minutes of just movie trailers.
Yeah, nothing but
But
trailers. Access
yeah,
TV does that.
yeah, they took it over. I think, but I want to see, because I love watching behind the scenes, and even the back in the day when like the prequels are being made. I love seeing like Star Wars Insider magazine, because they had just set photos, but nothing like stuff that was already announced. But the stuff that was secret was still secret. But it's like, oh, here's Obi-Wan on this, but it got you excited. So I don't mind that stuff. But like the cell phone screenshots of like, look who I saw on the street or stuff. Or so I like the teaser trailer to make you
leaks.
Yeah. So I like the teaser trailers that kind of remind you like, yep, this movie's right around the corner. All the last year and a half you've been excited, it's right around the corner. So enjoy this. So yeah, that's what I like. But yeah, all the different TV spots and all the analyze, even though we're doing a reaction, but I mean all the months and months and months of just analyzing every little thing is like, yeah, it kind of takes away. So like I said, it was the worst kept secret about Toby and Andrew showing up, but just the execution.
At least we didn't get MJ and Gwen.
Yeah, and I would have been cool to see a Emma Stone dressed up as Spider-Gwen or.
I mean, I'd be down with any of it. I just remember there was a point when like the rumor mill was talking about like they saw Emma Stone and Kirsten Dunst in LA and they started speculating and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I'm happy when we're wrong.
Exactly.
And so, it's fun when we're right. I mean, and I guess obviously, it goes with spoiler warnings and of our own thirst for knowledge and content. Because I've definitely watched videos breaking down the trailers and stuff, and I have learned that I probably don't want to do that as much in the future. Because one of them got as they're basically adding their predictions in, and one of them got it so on the nose to the point with the clips from the trailer of Peter being interrogated. He was like, Matt Murdock is going to be his lawyer. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
How do you pull that?
And I saw people were mad that it wasn't the interrogation room because that they thought that was, I'm like, are you really that pissed that just because you predicted, but it wasn't in the scene you predicted? I mean, that it didn't happen. So,
but yeah. In that spirit, I have my prediction and I'll save it for the end.
Okay. So I just want to go real quick. We got number 2, the return of the bad guys. We got Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Electro, Lizard, and Sandman. There were some few that were obviously missing.
Sinister 5.
Yeah. So we definitely got the best of the greatest hits of the villains from the first 5 Star Wars. I got Star Wars on my mind all the time. Spider-Man movies. So with number, I mean, you brought it up before. Even though the first reveal we got was Doc Ock, I'll go to Green Goblin because that's number 1 on the murderers row of Spider-Man villains. And like you said before, William Dafoe went full Gobby, and he
might have upgraded his performance like Garfield as well.
Exactly. And thank you for saying that, because I actually was going to go to where I said where Garfield was the highlight for me out of the Spiders. I think Garfield and Dafoe to me were the highlights. And like I said, because when he went full Goblin, even more than he did in the original Spider-Man, I feel. And I mean, and hearing that William Dafoe would not have done the movie if he didn't do his own stunts too. So, I mean, that's amazing. Dude's always in good shape, but those fight scenes with him and Spider-Man were just incredible. Some of the best Spider-Man hand-to-hand fighty I've ever seen, and not ever seen, but seen it in a while.
I mean, that voice, it's just
Dafoe agreed.
Stole the show.
Yes.
Stole the chauffeur.
Dafoe for show. There's a t-shirt right there.
But I mean, the voice, it still rings in my head. It's and like most of you, I probably did a little rewatch over the last couple weeks of the previous ones. But it's almost like these actors came in and they're like, we're getting a second chance to do this character, this role that not necessarily was bad or anything before, but bring it to a new audience and just give you a chance to invest any acting experience you've gained over the time in between. And I think that's shown with those 2 actors in particular.
Yeah. And cool seeing that we finally get the old original hooded Goblin.
Yes,
I love that.
I that was a big plus for me was his the sweatshirt with the shawl or whatever it was with the rip sleeves. How they managed to do the color blocking with the comic accurate
Yeah,
costume. And
very cool.
speaking of comic accurate costumes, we got to go to Electro from there
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead.
with the
Definitely.
glow up, I guess they called it. Not only changing him from this weird blue see-through person from Pandora, looking like an avatar, to a normal looking, but not even just normal. Is he shed his whole nerd, gray hair, glasses
Come
thing,
over.
and he's like 66 who's I
I think
don't know,
Defoe.
66 years old. I'm
I'm
assuming
guessing.
Defoe.
I'm guessing. Yeah, he's 66.
I know Jamie Foxx ain't no 66 years
No.
old. But yeah, that was great seeing him do that. And of course, in the final fight, we get the lightning bolts coming out of his face for that moment,
Yeah.
which was cool. I was kind of, when we saw the initial image, wondering how they were gonna sustain the lightning bolt mask on his face. But yeah, his character was fun. I think he was a little bit too aloof at points.
Hmm.
But his exchange with Peter at the end about Peter number 3,
Yeah.
about him thinking that he was black based on him being from Queens and helping underserved people, and a couple other things I can't remember that he mentioned, and then of course saying, I bet there is a black Spider-Man out there, and that was
Yeah.
another cheer, or at least on second viewing, I made the cheer in the audience,
And
hoping that we'll get that live Miles at some point.
And that is the second cameo of a Miles Morales reference. The first one was in Homecoming with Donald Glover. I forget the his character's name. I think in ways he plays his uncle, but not the same uncle from Into the Spider-Verse.
He's got a
But
lot of bad uncles.
well, yeah, but so there's a deleted scene. I remember watching specifically when I got the Blu-ray, where it's an extended scene of him locked up to the car, and he's on the phone. He's like, uh, talking to Miles. He's like, "Sorry, Miles, I'm going to be late again," or something like that. So that was the first reference, but it was a deleted scene, unfortunately. But
Which
I think
was
we would definitely get Miles Morales, but I think Sony's going to just milk the animated movie for a little bit,
yeah.
which is deservingly. I mean, that's one of the greatest superhero movies, live action animated. It doesn't matter. It's one of the greatest superhero movies ever, in my opinion. So I'm sure they're going to let that fold
One
out.
of the
Then,
greatest animated movies ever.
yeah, agreed.
I'm put it
So
right up there on a Disney podcast. I'm gonna say that.
yeah, but here we go. Thank you, sir. Brian Lee, Aaron Davis, Sam's uncle in Spider-Verse, same uncle in Spider-Verse Homecoming. Yeah, I got a nephew in the neighborhood, but deleted. Yeah, thank you. I
So
forgot the name.
he's playing the same as the guy in Spider-Verse. Just
Yeah, I just thought it was a different name, but thank you, Brian, for correcting me there. So, but yeah, that was a great deleted scene too. That would have been nice to see in the final cut.
Most def. I would love to see Donald Glover come back.
Yeah, exactly.
Although he wouldn't be Miles, whatever. But yeah, I don't know who they cast in that. I hope we get it at some point.
Let's see.
I
Did
did
you guys
not.
notice? I did not.
I saw a couple Ditkos on the spray painted on the walls.
It was Ditko and another guy. I forgot his name, but yeah, I saw the Ditko one. And I appreciate your help. We'll take all the help we could get. Where was the Stan Lee shout out?
Participation. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, and please let us know where with it, and because I want to see it again. So of course, in any Stan Lee I could see, but no, I really enjoy, because I was underwhelmed. I was excited when Jamie Foxx was cast as Electro in Amazing Spider-Man 2. But like I said, the execution in those movies weren't that great. So I feel like they fixed a lot of things, especially where Andrew and him are talking, and it's like, dude, you are seeing. I did see. Okay, let's see. Oh, that's his birthday, isn't it? I believe.
It's coming up.
Yeah. So, but perfect transition to Doc Ock. Yeah, Stanley's
I know
birthday.
I had heard in one of the other podcasts. Yeah,
Thank
Stanley's
you.
birthday. on the license plate that the admissions woman from MIT was a reference to, I believe, one of the specific Amazing Spider-Man. It said A5M15 or something,
Yeah.
reference to one of the comics or whatever.
Yeah, I think I saw that on one of the Nerdist breakdowns, but
Yeah,
and going to Doc Ock real quick. Again, probably one of the best super or comic book villains in movie history in my opinion. In Spider-Man 2, Alfred Molina killed it. He was the big cheer of the trailer when it showed up. So again, just nailed the character, nailed the role. I love the scene when Peter 1 uh cured him, quote unquote, fixed his inhibitor chip or whatever it's called, and then he was actually felt free for the first time in years. And the way his one of the octo arms with the nanotech just hit Peter on the heart, and it all just went back. Or did that happen before? I can't remember.
it probably was then because he was using the nanotech to lock him up to that point.
That's right. That's right. So that whole scene was amazing. Then seriously, they would not. Three Spider-Mans would have not have beaten Electro with the arc reactor if it wasn't for Doc Ock. Kind of
That's
playing.
true. He was
It's like
getting him.
they're mine, and then gives them the old switcheroo. So
Mm-hmm.
Doc Ock, hero of Spider-Man No Way Home. And I mean Lizard, he was cool. Sandman, it was cool. So I think they were there for the numbers, in my opinion.
Lizard was cool. Sandman was cool. Definitely there for the numbers. I guess I would have liked to see more of a good turn on Sandman, considering he was all about getting back to his daughter.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand why. It didn't make sense to me why he wouldn't be trusting,
Yeah.
But then again, we don't know where he was at the end of.
Well, he was
this
even
movie.
saying because when he thought the Spider-Man was the Toby Spider-Man, once he figured out it was a different one, then he stopped trusting him.
Right.
Once he knew that it was yeah, let's see. So Lowell from Wings. Yeah.
He's Sideways too, right? The one
Yeah.
with Paul Giamatti. It's Sandman and Rhino drinking wine in Napa County.
So Sandman wasn't great, but his introduction, yeah, I agree. So another great role. He was one of the cowboys in Tombstone. So next point, I just wrote action and emotions. This movie had more emotions than I thought action, even though the action was great. I mean, so the first big action scene is basically Spider-Man flying through everybody, trying to get his picture and everything. Pretty cool. But of course, the battle with Doc Ock was amazing. I thought. I don't know that.
The battle with Doc Ock and the battle with Goblin in the apartment building, Happy's apartment building, where they're just smashing each other through floors.
Yeah,
that was pretty wild because I would have never really expected either of them to be that strong on their own.
Yeah,
to push another being through a floor of a building.
Yeah. And yeah, actually, I was going to hit this again, Sean. Tom Holland's acting and emotion was off the chart. Yeah, I'm just going to go to just like I mentioned, his I had a feeling. I think in our speculation podcast, I kind of mentioned that I felt Aunt May, as much as I love hot Aunt May, Marissa Tomei. I think I did mention that she was going to be the Uncle Ben of this movie, and it sadly came true. But again, like the stuff that you think is going to happen, just the execution is so much bigger and better than what I was expecting. And the way she passed was so heartbreaking. I mean, this was one of the many times like the tears were really kind of pouring down my face. And nobody, like I mentioned it earlier, but when Tom Holland is in full cry mode, holy crap. I don't want to bring it up again because it hurts.
Well, and then I feel it too. I can't. I think, and I don't even want to say it's a knock on him, but he just seems like a kid. He
Yeah.
seems like a kid. And so when he starts crying, I see a little kid crying. And so it makes me sad because you don't
Yeah.
want the little kids to be sad, you know?
Well, and it makes
Um,
me sad because I feel like I'm a big kid and I would be doing the same damn thing if Tony Stark died in front of me, if my aunt died in front of me, and then
totally.
and then the scene of him. I mean,
But I
you,
would look like a blubbering adult. You would look like a blubbering adult. He looks like a child who had his ice cream spill on the sidewalk or something, you know?
yeah,
And again, I'm not saying this as a knock of him because on the flip side, uh, on the back end of the movie, both him not pulling his punches against Green Goblin at the end and his finishing, you know, him going and getting the apartment and sewing his own costume and stuff, those things just kind of made him feel more independent and adult. Like, I can buy this guy going it on his own.
yeah,
But it's like prior to that, and I think it's only because we were given him this way. He was a kid who needed May, MJ, Ned, and Happy to do everything he did.
yeah, absolutely. And kind of going back to the emotion. I mean, even the part where they before they introduced him to the two Spideys, they just walk up to him, hug him, and you don't even see his face for like a good minute and a half or 2 minutes, but you feel every inch of pain that he's going through.
Yeah.
And again, another part of the emotion is I brought it up earlier, but Spidey 3, Andrew, when he saved MJ, I mean, just you see it in his face just for a split second. You're just like, because you feel the loss when he lost Gwen in Amazing Spider-Man 2, and even the part where he's just like, I love you guys, because because he's like, I've always wanted brothers,
Yeah.
so that was really
The
this
chemistry between those guys is great. I hope
yeah.
maybe we get to see them together again in the freshman year animated or something. They bring them all back for an episode. That would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So next point I have is what's next, and it basically
Did we
it's
already go over reveals?
which ones?
Okay, well, just in general, because I thought of something when I was talking about the
Oh,
last
good.
point. I was talking about how Peter needed all these people, and then I remembered Nick Fury in the last movie, and then the reveal we get in the beginning of this movie that Nick Fury was off world for a year.
Yeah, that's right.
So that Nick Fury, I mean, I know it's been talked about, but this is basically confirmed that the Nick Fury we saw, I mean, I guess it's not really confirmed. Nick Fury could have come to Earth to see Spider-Man without alerting the whatever, the DDC,
Yeah,
damage control. But basically, there's a lot of speculation that Nick Fury was a Skrull then. So that was a big thing for me in seeing the movie. I guess a little bit the first, but more so the second time. Is like, now I want to go back and watch Far From Home and see if there's any little hints as to him being a Skrull at that point.
yeah, and I think I saw something mention that like how deep are the pockets of the damage control, knowing that Nick Fury was off planet too,
Right.
So, quick little question: Electro should not have been in this. He did not know Peter was Spider-Man. I did read that somewhere else too, and I don't know where to rebut on that, but no, I did read that. I think on Nerdist, I think pointed that out also. But it's just one of those, meh, I guess.
Do you think did he find out right before he died or something? Because he kind of explained something like that in the movie.
I don't remember. I actually haven't rewatched the first group of Spider-Mans yet.
We started watching it the other night, but we weren't paying too much attention.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the specific quote from this movie, but in the scene where they're basically all recounting how they got there, he starts talking about, I was doing this and that in Spider-Man, and then he basically blanks and he's like, oh yeah, and then I died.
Yeah. And to your comment, Brian, the post credit from No Way Far From Home tells you that Fury was a Skrull the entire film. Yeah. And saying he was off road only the year tells us he hasn't been a Skrull the entire time, like some were speculating. Good to know.
But yeah.
So no, what I was writing for what's next is not really where we're going in the MCU, because that'll probably come up in the when we go talk real quick about the Stingers. But it's funny because when the first Spider-Man Homecoming came out, they mentioned they weren't going to do like an origin story, and they're just kind of going to go with it. But it's like these three movies in a way were origin stories because you got, Peter kind of got in with the Avengers, got all his Stark tech, got all that, had help, like you said, from Ned, MJ, Happy, Tony, Aunt May. But now that he's finally on his own, nobody else, he's making his own is like this was his new origin for this new world. Yeah. And I kind of dig that. So
it was a closure and an origin all at the same time.
Yeah. Let's see. So Brian's referring to Acura. He did know he was Peter. He figured it out when he saw Gwen Stacy at the power grid scene. Okay. Like I said, I haven't seen it in a long time, so that makes sense.
I won't be putting it on initially.
Then we did get the Easter egg from this was the Ned's ex-girlfriend. She's now an intern at for the Daily Bugle, but she did give the "Go get him, Tiger" quote to Peter on his first day of school. So, favorite moments. I mean, I'm sure there was a lot. So,
yeah, the whole movie. I mean, Ned's mom asking him to get the cobweb was great. I reach for the comedy.
Yeah.
Peter using the nanotech as basically like Bluetooth on Doc Ock, that was cool. And then that just all the interactions between the different Peter Parkers, highlighted by the huddle and Andrew Garfield, number 3. Just their different personalities meshing together and stuff.
Yeah. Kira's son's favorite scene is the Doctor Strange Mirror World. Yeah,
Mirror World was awesome.
That's another reason why I'd like to go see it in 3D. Also, I'm sure that looks amazing. Yeah. Sean, host of Walt's Apartment podcast, Wanda in the post credit. We'll talk about that shortly.
That was your favorite part of the movie, Sean?
He's a big Wanda fan.
Yeah. I like me some Wanda too, but I mean, I was so high on this movie. I still I think I would have to go back and look at the list and do a reorder of all the MCU. Mm-hmm. But I mean, top five. How could you not say this movie isn't up there with Endgame and Infinity War in the sense that it's bringing back story and characters and stuff from 20 years almost?
Yeah, absolutely.
It spans such a huge thing. I love the movie as a whole, and I'm sure we'll get to that. But yeah, and I'm sure you thought it was a great movie too. And
yeah,
I enjoyed seeing Wanda as well.
My favorite, not necessarily my favorite scene, was the unexpected amount of just emotions that was going to hit me through this. I was in my early 20s when first Spider-Man came out, so people like my age was like, "Oh, you're supposed, Toby's your Spider-Man." Actually, my favorite Spider-Man overall is Tom Holland. He's the one that nails Peter Parker and Spider-Man the best to me. But I've been a fan of high schooler. Yeah, I've been a fan of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, except Spider-Man 3. But that's a whole different story. Like I mentioned earlier, I was a big fan of Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. Not so much what they did with his Peter Parker, but that was the movie making decisions on that. But so I totally feel, I don't say, because I don't think he needs to be redeemed, but I feel this movie redeemed Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I mean, you hear it in the applause in the crowd. So
better than redeemed. This movie made me want to see Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man again.
Yeah. So yeah, top 5, maybe top 3. That's good. Peter saving MJ was the best moment. That was probably my favorite moment, and going not just to that scene, but like I mentioned a few times, just his emotion after he rescued her. But that whole 3 Spider-Man swinging around in hero pose in front of the Statue of Liberty, iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah, love this movie. But yeah, let's get to the stingers. Well, first of all, one of the big questions, real quick, was how come it was snowing in the sanctum, and we found out the Siberian door was open a little bit too long. So,
Well, and that was another thing, not as much the snowing in the sanctum, but which I thought initially was going to be my link to Christmas and why this is going on at the same time as Hawkeye. But I'm still trying to wrap my head around, and this might have something to do with like the breaking of time and whatever Doctor Strange was doing. So the movie begins at the end of Far From Home. They were on summer vacation in Europe, right? And then the next note we really get about time is that they're starting school. So it's like September, October, something like that. Then you get the coffee shop, the boss asks them, "Hey, thanks for stopping by,
no,
Brian.
thank you, sir.
Appreciate all your input."
Yeah, thank you. Come back anytime.
The boss from the coffee shop telling her to take the Halloween decorations down, which would lead me to believe it's after Halloween. So in my head, I'm like, they started school. So there was a fast forward of time a little bit at some point because it's sometime in November. And then the events from that point basically go into Christmas season. So either time got fast forwarded at some point through the movie, or they were hanging out with multiple Spider-Mans and villains for multiple days.
Yeah, I think it might have jumped a little bit after his name got cleared for the murder of
Right. Maybe
Mysterio.
each time he did the spell.
No. Right after he talked to Murdoch when he cleared him. So then because he was saying, well, the only thing you're going to have to deal with was the public opinion. So I think it jumped maybe a little bit.
Well, then he goes back to school, and we all kind of know that school usually starts sometime between August and September or whatever. And then the next thing, so I think the jump is between the start of school and when they're in the coffee shop doing applications.
Because they get multiple letters. Yeah, because they get multiple letters, which could take a few weeks.
That's true. You get a little fast forward there.
Yeah,
and then I guess basically the next part. Because I think doesn't he start when they go in the mirror universe? He goes through Christmassy stuff at that point, almost to the extent that he might have like fast forwarded time.
Yeah, there's so much going on.
Yeah, this will be things I'll go back and look at in the third viewing.
And I still need my second viewing. So
basically, at the end, we end, and it's totally Christmas at the end of Spider-Man. So.
Yeah, and hopefully ties into Hawkeye tonight.
It can't tomorrow. Not. It's the same New York.
And Murdoch and Kingpin. I'm just saying. And Elena is saying she wants to see the new Statue of Liberty.
I mean, going back to Hawkeye for a minute, but like, it's going to be interesting with what we saw. Like, I'm still kind of dumbfounded as to why he was on Daily Bugle live saying he's going to be at the Statue of Liberty, yet there were no media or anything out at the Statue of Liberty for that fight. I know the Statue of Liberty isn't like the easiest place to get to by like car or foot, but
helicopters
could have been out there,
but like I've said for years, it wasn't in the script. So
let the movie happen.
Yeah, so let's almost wind this up here. Stingers, we got one stinger and a trailer. Tell us about the stinger we got, mid-credit scene.
So the first stinger, mid-credits, we've got, what's his name? Venom, Eddie Brock.
Eddie.
So in this stinger basically directly relates to the stinger from Venom, Let There Be Carnage. For those who didn't see that, in that stinger, they're sitting in a hotel room on vacation after the events of Let There Be Carnage.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler for anything that happened prior to this movie.
I just like playing with a soundboard. You know that.
Always. And Venom is basically explaining to Eddie why, like, he can't understand the multiverse or whatever. And then he does a thing to like try and like blip explain it to him in his head. And a blip kind of happens.
Yeah. And then the hive mind.
Yeah, hive mind. That's what it was. He's trying to like feed him all the information, and it kind of comes up, and then the I think the room slightly changes that they're in,
I can't. Yeah,
and you see the TV, and Spider-Man's on it, and Venom is like, I know that guy, like I need to get him or whatever. And that's kind of how that stinger ends. So in
licks the
this
TV
stinger,
and
sorry,
he licks the TV.
yes, he licks the TV. It was a very weird. You're not sure if he's going to kill him, eat him, lick him, whatever. But he's definitely got business with Spider-Man. Fast forward to this mid-credit stinger, we get Eddie Brock sitting at the hotel bar in Mexico, and he's basically just kind of spitballing off.
Because where else would you be?
What's that?
Because where else would you be?
Because where else would you be at the bar when you're dealing with this sort of crazy mental, realization? And he's asking the bartender about all these things. He's like, so there's a tin man in a suit who flies, and a big guy who gets angry, and Eddie and Venom are, all kind of doing Venom-like things, talking down on all these other characters. And a shout out, I don't know the name of the actor, but for any Ted Lasso fans, that's Danny, the bartender. Football is life, So Stinger is life, and bartending is life, and the blip is life, or was for him, as his family had disappeared. So basically, he's just sitting here dealing with this drunk Eddie Brock. Venom says they need to go skinny dip, and as they get up, they basically get sent back to their universe, we believe. They kind of dissipate the same way that the villains and Spideys did
without paying their bill.
Except for one piece of symbiote is left on the bar top, and we see it move. So yeah, that is the mid-credit stinger that we get. So a piece of symbiote is still in the Marvel 616 universe.
Yes, enough to clap onto a brand new made suit.
Enough for anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows what they're going to do with it? It's a great play for the next Spider-Man movie. Hopefully, I know I've heard theories that Venomized is a big deal. We could see other characters potentially get Venomized.
Yeah, because we're told that Spider-Man 4 is in early planning stages right now, and the brass from Sony has said there is going to be a new trilogy with Tom Holland. So, and at the premiere, one of the main producers, I forget his name, because they were asking him about the relationship between Disney and Sony, or Marvel and Sony, sorry, and he's like, "This is a great relationship." So. We got one more movie together, but of course we'd love to keep making stuff. So
money hand over fist is always going to be a good relationship.
Exactly, and quality. So then we're expecting a quick scene or glimpse of Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness, and we pretty much got the first teaser trailer for it.
Yeah,
and
we basically got a trailer. There's too much to try and explain what was going on.
Yeah,
we could say what and who we saw.
We saw Wanda. We saw America Chavez. We saw obviously Doctor Strange. Dude from the first movie.
Was it Mordo or something?
No.
I get him mixed up with Dormammu. I knew that was like
it's a more. I think it is because he was killing sorcerers at the ending credit of the first movie,
right?
And then so I don't know. It looked like he was imprisoned or something, but then we got. I mean,
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Yeah.
That guy's back.
Yeah. So we got Doctor Strange looking for Scarlet Witch, looking for her help. So I know a lot of people are saying that she might be the big bad. Who knows? But and apparently she looks like at least the big good that's going to help with a little bit of the madness that's going on. And I think the big bad might be Doctor Strange. We got a view of what might be the same Doctor Strange Supreme from What If. I don't know if it's him or a different variant, because we got variants.
I don't know, but we definitely are made to think that he's bad.
Yeah. So that'll be cool seeing a Doctor on Doctor battle. I'm geeked for this movie. I think a lot of this movie, the Doctor Strange, is what kind of got Toby to be in No Way Home, being that Doctor Strange is directed by Sam Raimi, and we know Tobey Maguire is a huge friend and fan still of Sam Raimi. So I think that might have been a nice little, do it. How amazing would it be if you did Spider-Man again? So that's just a guess, but I'm excited for this movie. It is billed as it's been billed for the last like year and a half as Marvel's first real horror movie.
Yeah, I don't know about all
So
that, but we'll see.
it'll
I
be
hope
good.
so.
It'll be
They
cool.
didn't show me anything in that trailer to believe that it was more than just Doctor Strange 2.
Exactly,
Like,
but enough to let you know that hey, this is around the corner. Like
I get,
Mordo. Yeah, thank you,
thank
Patty.
you. But yeah, I assume we'll definitely get jump scares. They're not going to venture outside of PG-13. So it's
Yeah.
not going to be horror.
Well, it'll be on the creepier side, but we hopefully see some of that stuff at Oogie Boogie Bash next year.
But there was the other thing in the trailer. You got the kind of octopus looking thing, which I'm sure has a name through the comics that I'm not saying. Kind of for the Star Wars fans, look like a Rathtar.
I did.
But
And we've seen tentacled creatures in What If, different episodes, multiple episodes,
yes.
and I forget the name, but I've been watching like Nerdist reaction videos, and it is a known Marvel villain and alien that's shown up, Fantastic Four, Doctor Strange, multiple comics, so it might be that same creature, maybe, or something of it. So,
I mean, the hype from What If before, and we watched it and we were excited about it. But I think something I had said before that I was just looking forward to hopefully stuff from What If coming into live action. And I think that came with the hype they gave us. They had kind of said, like, this is really going to be the introduction to the multiverse, and this is going to be a big deal. And, obviously we're not going to get all of them. But any sort of stepping from animated into live action, I mean, that's basically what we're doing with all of this, from comic books to movies.
yeah.
But I think that's really cool. I hope it is, Evil Strange Supreme. It kind of makes sense. The one that doesn't make sense to me is America, but we don't really, at least from the cinematic universe, know anything about her, and I don't really know much from the comic book universe. So I'll either have to do my homework or just save it to be surprised, which is what I'll probably try to do. Just got 3 months of avoiding videos telling me what's up.
And I got to see the dates, but do we have a MCU show coming out before?
If anything, it's going to be Miss Marvel, because that was supposed to come out this year.
Yeah, because I forget when She-Hulk or Moon Knight comes out, and I don't know if it's before Doctor Strange. So who knows?
Those are the only 3 that we've seen any sort of video clips from.
We still got a Hawkeye post-credit scene. I mean,
yeah, I'm surprised they haven't given us any stingers. Wanda, we got stingers on like the last 3 episodes, I think.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm sure we'll get something with Echo, being that they announced her show before she even showed up on Hawkeye. People are like, people that aren't in the know, like, who's Echo? But not knowing that, but that's a perfect way for them to bring out the Daredevil characters. Do you think? And I guess we'll end with this on the Doctor Strange trailer. Do you think we'll see another version of Jonathan Majors?
I mean, we have
before
to.
Kang.
Kind of explain that in Loki.
Yeah, that's.
I don't. I mean, I would assume. Oh, do you mean in Doctor Strange?
Yeah, somewhere.
I think so, because we know Loki's in it, or we know Tom Hiddleston's in it. So I'm assuming that some part of Multiverse of Madness might not solve what happened at the end of Loki, but at least it's going to move the story forward, especially since they've already greenlit a season 2 of that show. And then, Quantum Mania is probably going to tie in there pretty well as well.
Good point.
But I'm the less I know, the more excited I am.
Exactly. So, and that's what I like. We got the clips, the quick clips of Doctor Strange. That's all I need until the movie. That tells me the movie's done, or it's ready. It's here. It's coming around the corner. That's all I need. I'm excited. I got the visuals, the new visuals of Doctor Strange and new characters. So, but yeah,
I got one more. In the spirit of all this stuff, I say I don't want to hear any more from anyone else, but I want to put mine into the universe. because you got to put it on wax. That way you can say, I told you so.
Exactly.
If and when it actually happens. And I'm pretty sure I whispered this to you when we were watching in the theater. I know the internet is over Mephisto.
Yeah.
The internet is done with Mephisto. I think the internet's just tired of being wrong.
I think so. But I like your theory. I think you said it.
J. Jonah Jameson is Mephisto. And after the second watch last night, I saw a couple other little like clues. He uses the term hell or high water. I mean, he's really just kind of like hating on Peter the whole time.
Yeah.
And it would be easily explained from him being a constant character through all of the Spider-Man movies, that he exists in the multiverse. He's what do they call that? A constant point or a something?
Yeah. I don't know.
But anyway,
I know what you're saying, but I don't know.
I'm taking a flyer. I think J. Jonah Jameson could be Mephisto. And I think it would be great that they continue building it like through. I mean, if you include the previous movies, by the time we get to it, it would be like 10 movies. And then they'd be like, oh, boom.
Now that's what they do with Thanos. That's what they do with Thanos. And you know what? And it makes sense because he's not from this 616. He's from the Toby verse, the Toby dimension. So
and they've never really come out and explained that either about his, because he was also in the Andrew Garfield, right?
No, they didn't have his character
okay.
in that one. So, and he was supposed to be in the third one when they were working on that, but then that's when Civil War was coming out and just a whole.
So he could have existed. They just never showed him.
Yeah, he existed, but yeah, he wasn't there. So, and I guess as we, we'll probably wrap this up very soon. So, one thing I want to end on, we were kind of not expecting, but Ned to kind of link or look like he was kind of going to move towards being the Hobgoblin, which he has become in certain comics, and even kind of pointed out that way. It seemed like that was going to happen when he was talking to Toby about his best friend. He's like, "Oh yeah, he killed, he tried to kill me and he died in my arms." And so then with that little quote, he's like, "I'll try not to kill you" or something. Or
I promise I won't become evil and kill you.
Yeah, but then I don't know. Do you think he's? I mean, leaning to become a sorcerer? I mean, he obviously opened the portals.
A lot of little things in there from him and his, magic abilities that his mom said to from one of the other podcasts or things I read I think it was a comment on Facebook somewhere, but somebody mentioned the emphasis on the decor in his house and there being like a lot of nautical and kind of like trident and seafaring things that he might have relation to Namor and the underworld.
Shout out Walt's apartment, Samantha. So
we'll see. I mean, if anything, they just laid enough Ned eggs in this movie to let us know that Ned is going to be a big deal going forward.
Yeah, very cool.
Maybe not like Spidey big deal, and hopefully not a bad guy. I don't know. I mean, the whole stuff with him third wheeling, like it just, to me, it seemed like at some point there's going to be a severance of the relationship, but obviously now that no one remembers him, that's kind of washed away.
Exactly. And we got Ant-Man 3. Big bad is Dr. Doom.
Well, they already confirmed it's what's his name? Kang.
Oh, yeah.
But if there is another big bad that we don't know about or not confirmed, at least as far as acting credit, I'm with that too. I would love to see some Doctor Doom. I know they talked about, or no, they were teasing what's his name, the floating head.
Oh, that is MODOK. Yeah. So,
but we know we got Kang. I know, we got Gore the God Butcher coming in the Thor, Love and Thunder. So we got some big bads coming. It's just funny because as this continues, Thanos doesn't look that big or bad anymore.
Especially after What If, where he's
Right.
But so I think we will end this really, like I said, we'll end this. We've gone a little bit longer than I expected, but it's easy when we're talking about something that was so freaking awesome as Spider-Man No Way Out, No Way
And with
Home.
so much participation from you guys,
Yeah,
thank you
thank
for
you
showing
guys
up
very
and talking
much.
to us.
But our rating system, what we'll go 1 out of 10. I'll give it to you to start us off. What do you give it, sir?
If I'm going to do a scale of 1 to 10, and I'm basing this just on Marvel movies, not like movies in the world as a whole, I'll probably rate this a 9.
Solid.
Straight up. I don't know what I'm missing to make it a 10. It's not a perfect movie. Merry Christmas.
Merry
Hey.
Christmas.
But it was a great movie. I've already gone back to see it twice. I'm already like the thing I'm gonna go start searching on the internet is, when is Disney gonna figure out how to get Spider-Man on Disney Plus?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's
Luckily, I
one
have the
that we don't
Blu-rays.
have yet, and like we already know Eternals is coming next month,
Yeah.
but this one I don't have a date I can look forward to streaming it. So
Hopefully soon. Yeah, I was leaning at 9.5, then 8.5. So I figured 9 is a solid for me also. Enjoyed the hell out of this movie. It hit all the points. It's definitely not at the level for me as Endgame or even Infinity War, but right in that ballpark. And I'm comfortable saying that it's probably in the top 3, along with what Sean mentioned earlier. Um, you know, definitely top 5, but most likely top 3. So here's my 5. It's number 1, Endgame. Actually, Endgame and Infinity War teeter to me. So I'll put those there as 1 and 2. Same. I mean, they're the same movie. No Way Home number 3. Winter Soldier number 4. So and number 5, Civil War. I mean, this is in between the Cohen or the not the Cohen brothers, the Arva, I can't
Russo,
Russo brothers. Thank you, man. Brain fart. We've been on too long.
a lot of directing siblings out there.
Yeah. So I put that out there. I want to read Ryan's real quick.
Yeah, I was just pulling this stuff up too.
Yeah, so his favorite parts of this movie was setting up the next trilogy within the story of this movie. So basically, the college years. Uh, favorite moments: the three Spider Guys humor, nailed it. The Goblin was one of his, and there wasn't much he didn't like.
That was it.
I won't read, but I think he give it. He gave it a 7.5. He if you know Ryan, he's strict on movie or he's tough on movies, but we always give him crap about it. So at least he didn't find it boring. But he gave it a 7.5, still because my theater sucked and haven't been able to see it again. That has nothing against the movie, Ryan. I'm giving you crap on that one. Don't blame the movie for the experience. The theater, our theater was awesome. I wanted to bring up too that it is so cool. One thing about being back in the theater, you get kind of annoying people on their cell phones, people are talking and whatever. But when people are invested in the movie and they're sniffling at the times you're sniffling, I was one of them. And when I'm saying sniffling, I mean, feeling the emotions. And when you're cheering at the moments you need to cheer, that's what makes a movie theater experience worth it. And I loved all the crowd cheering at the moments, every moment, all the reveals, all the cameos, all the lines that were thrown out there. I love that. So that was probably one of my favorite parts.
Yes, do yourself a favor. I mean, like I don't think we're talking to anyone right now who hasn't seen the movie. But if go get the tickets, opening night, opening week, because it's us, the community of people who love these films and these stories, that make the experience that much better. So I'm sorry to Ryan that you didn't have a great crowd and a great theater, but and I know you are. Go see it again, and if you are like Ryan and didn't have a great experience the first time. As I know personally, I used to try and avoid seeing movies at peak times. Go the peak time, go Friday night at 7 p.m., 9 p.m. Go get in that crowded theater. I know, we got stuff with Omicron, whatever. Throw a mask on. It's worth it. It's worth it to see it and enjoy it with your fellow fan.
Yeah, and if your theater is not cheering or clapping, you go cheer, you go clap, enjoy this
Yes.
movie. It is worth it. Who
Don't let
cares?
anyone shy you on that.
But yeah, so we went a little bit longer than I expected, but like I said, we enjoyed talking, we enjoyed the interaction. This was a fun discussion. Thank you guys for the ones that chimed in here. We appreciate it. We don't go live a whole lot, but when we do, we appreciate the interaction. So if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube. You just I'll do the YouTube lingo. Smash that like button. Share if you like the review. When this is not live, when this is up and posted, still comment your favorite parts of the movie. We might do. I kind of want to do. I don't know. Maybe a reaction of Hawkeye when it's done. Encanto comes out on Disney Plus for free. I haven't seen it yet, so maybe we might
You
review
watch
that.
I might watch Hawkeye and The Matrix tonight. We'll see.
Yeah, I might not be able to wait for the theater for Matrix. So I already blew it with Dune, but I won't do it with Matrix. So I rewatched the other ones on HBO Max.
Only
So
reason why is because I got a nice big new TV and soundbar in the living room. So
nice. So yeah, we'll do another one of these reviews real soon. We'll have the new podcast is the recent episode is out. A lot of real fun. We'll probably be back after the first of the year.
yeah, look forward to it. I'm gonna come back with my book report and talk a little bit about rides and movies from the Disney company that have big milestone anniversaries in 2022.
Yeah, there's a lot of them
Things
too.
that you can mark your calendars for celebrating next year.
Yeah, we got our countdown to Star Wars Celebration going to come out, a countdown to D23.
Talk a
And
little about Hawkeye, talk a little
yeah,
about Book of Boba Fett.
yeah. So we'll post those out. We'll have them out on YouTube also as our regular podcast episodes. But thanks again for sharing, commenting, and joining us for this fun spoiler-filled Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. I'm going to go see it again. Yeah, I'm already out. I'm sad, so I got to go refill. But thank you guys.
Happy holidays.
Yes.
Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas. We will see you soon, and have a happy holiday.